Bizarre Reality Media. The reality we live in can be a very strange place. Most of the time, fact being stranger than fiction. How will we ever start to understand this reality we live in unless we question everything? Join me and a guest as we unravel the mysteries of this reality, one topic at a time. This is Inquiries of Reality with Shayn Jones. What is up, Inquirers, and welcome to the expanse of deep conversational exploration into the fringes of social norms. I'm the one they call Shane, aka the original Shane Squatch, and today for you guys, I have the return of the one, the only, Charlie Robinson, a man who needs no introduction on this show, being the most return guest on the show. With the world in constant chaos, there's no better time to dive into the latest conspiracies and unravel the tangled web of secrets and mind control. From Epstein's shadowy dealings to the looming economic collapse, we're peeling back the layers and exposing the truth. Because with Charlie, it's always a fascinating conversation. But before we get into that, just a couple of quick news and updates. First and foremost, I know I've been a little bit scattered as far as the episodes go. I've had a lot going on in my personal life with family, with job stuff, money, trying to keep the show afloat. So if you guys wouldn't mind taking an extra couple moments to support the show in any possible way that you guys can, especially now, I would definitely appreciate it, and it would mean the absolute world to me. But hopefully with your guys' help, I'll be able to continue keeping this show afloat for a very long time. But continuing on, if anybody might be interested in catching the next live episode of Bizarre Inquiries, that'll be happening on March 5th at about 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the usual place, the Bizarre Reality Media YouTube channel. And if anybody has any questions, clips, or articles that they would like to submit for that, of course, make sure you get it to us before then. But if not, we will pass it along to the next episode. And if anyone is interested in being a guest on the show, sharing their own bizarre experiences or encounters, or contacting me for any reason whatsoever, you guys can do so through email, which is inquiriesofourealitypodcast@outlook.com, or you guys could also email me at bizarrerealitymedia@outlook.com, or you guys could also call or text the Bizarre Reality Media hotline 24/7, and that number is 313-364-1551, and if you happen to miss that, it is available down in the show description. And with that, let's get into the show. Please welcome back to the show for now his probably like 20th time, because honestly, there's always some weirdness going on in the world, and we of course have to discuss it. Please welcome back to the show, Charlie Robinson. How's it going today, man?
Where do we even start?
Good spot.
Where do we start? I mean, economic collapse on the horizon, gold and silver going crazy, Epstein files coming out.
I think that was the last thing we touched base on was the real story behind Epstein. So ironically, this time coming in, there's a little bit more information on Epstein.
Yeah. And I'm glad that people are talking about him. The normies out there, like everybody kind of knows about Jeffrey Epstein now. It's a thing. And I'm glad, because people need to know that type of guy exists, and that there's networks like that are in charge of doing things like that with kids and entrapment operations. Like, they need to know that is a thing. But I hope that they don't just stop there, because there's so much else. There's, the stuff he was doing with transhumanism, and, the ownership of Southern Air Transport, which is used to be Air America. It was the CIA's airline that Epstein owned with Wexner, and, what they were running with those airplanes and why the airplanes are very unique and specific, and why only traffickers seem to have 727s and things like that. So there's so much more to Epstein. That's why I'm glad that the island brought you to the party, you know, like got you interested in what Epstein's all about. But like, if you stop there, you're going to miss the good stuff. You're going to miss Zorro Ranch, what he had going on in New Mexico underground, what he had going on in the island underground. That was, saw that today in the files, talking about most definitely confirmed there were tunnels in the island, on the island underneath the main structures connecting some of the underground. So I think proving that temple goes underground, which I think most people suspected. And of course, my partner, my lunatic partner on controlled demolition of the American Empire, Jeff Berwick, is on video with Luke Rudowski and a glass of wine and a cigarette running around Epstein's island. Just and I get this message from Jeff on Telegram, and he says, "You turn on YouTube. We've done something terrible." And I was like, dude, if it's like, just turn on YouTube, you'll figure it out in a minute. Like that, I'm like, oh God, what have you done? And then I see this video of him. Yeah. And so like there's a lot to Epstein. He's a bit of a conspiracy onion,
to say the least.
Yeah. And it's tough because people want to say he's just this, or he's a Mossad spy. And it's like, yeah, well, technically there's a Israeli military intelligence branch called Amman. He's actually an Amman spy who maybe worked with the Mossad, and had relationships with the CIA. You can see pictures of him background, and there's like CIA logos and shots and things like that of Epstein in places. It's definitely, he wasn't just this. He wasn't just that. He wasn't just running girls. He wasn't just doing sexual blackmail entrapment operations. He was financing guys at Harvard with $30 million to get into evolutionary dynamics, population game theory, guys like Martin Nowak. Martin Nowak, by the way, not having a good week. Martin Nowak to Epstein. Our spy was captured after completing her mission. Epstein to Martin Nowak. Did you torture her? You got some explaining to do.
Yeah, that's one of those ones kind of like Pizzagate emails. Like, it's kind of hard to get out of it because no matter what the context is of it, it's still some very strange context. Exactly. You're like, do you want cheese? Can I play dominoes on your cheese? Everyone's like, are you either retarded or are you talking in code? And if you're talking in code, we have problems. Not to mention all these things going back and forth. I mean, a lot of them are on private servers. So it's like, yeah, if you're just having these innocent conversations, like, why are you doing them over private servers? Is it really that important to have privacy talking about a pizza party that you guys are trying to have, if that really is the context here? I mean, Obama's flying in $50,000 worth of hot dogs. You know what I mean? I mean, I know we spend a lot, the government, but hey, not enough, though, apparently, because otherwise the Clintons wouldn't have been on the Epstein flight logs, right? And they wouldn't be trying to deny any type of allegations currently and not trying to play ball currently if it wasn't for that. Jeffrey Epstein, in conjunction with Bill Clinton, set up the Clinton Foundation. Mark Middleton, who introduced the conduit between Bill Clinton, President Bill Clinton, when he was president, second term, he was the go-between, Mark Middleton, between Epstein and Clinton on 17 different occasions
to the White House. So they had a tight relationship. Mark Middleton was later found hanging from a rope from a tree with also a shotgun wound that they said was self-inflicted and that it was a suicide, which is interesting.
It's the typical Clinton thing. I feel like they do this thing where they'll almost like leave something super obvious. So it's almost like the hitman mark, that it's like, all right, this doesn't make any sense, but nobody's actually going to sit here and correct it, and we're going to push it through the mainstream media. Like, it's almost like an assertment of power, because everybody that sees that knows it makes absolutely no sense, but why is nobody else questioning it here?
That's the baller move.
Exactly.
Is to leave the glove and go, yeah, what are you going to do? Yeah, that's Clinton's for you. You know, I don't think people know, like, who Bill Clinton really is. You know, like what, like, see, his relationship with Epstein goes back to the 80s. You know, so because Bill Clinton was running the George H.W. Bush was in charge of the cocaine empire. Bill Clinton was his guy in America who was taking it in through Mena, Arkansas. That was not really, I don't think that's debated too much, but they were using Southern Air Transport. They were using Air America, the CIA planes. They were bringing that in. And they, in part, you know, not always, but in part, they were using these planes. And that company was bought by Jeffrey Epstein and Les Wexner, relocated from Florida to Columbus, Ohio. And then that was used for trafficking God knows what. Probably people, probably guns, possibly drugs, possibly artwork. I mean, this guy was doing everything. And I should probably mention it since I kind of teased it a little bit earlier, but the thing about the Lolita Express, the big airplane that he's got, a lot of people would go, you know, like you got a what, $800 million. I don't know what his net worth is. Shouldn't you have a Gulfstream? Like, shouldn't you have a nice private jet, not this big flying piece of shit, this Toyota Camry? And the answer is he did. He had two Gulfstreams. He had a G4 and a G3, and he flew those usually back and forth to Europe and whatever. But the 727 is a weird airplane. It's designed with this S-shaped duct, a third engine in the top. And because of that, it allows for the design to put a rear deploying staircase. And they like this because you could fly it into small and medium-sized airports. And if they didn't have the infrastructure to bring up like the jetway and the staircase, you had your own staircase. It just, you went out of the butt of the airplane. I remember doing it. It's been a long time since I've done that, but I remember TWA, back when they were in business, they had all these planes. Epstein's plane is an old TWA 727. And the rear deploying staircase has an unusual feature. You can put it down while you're flying, as long as you're below 10,000 feet. It won't depressurize the cabin. You can do it. And so it works like a little cargo plane where you can throw things out of the back. Drugs, parachute drugs, whatever, weapons. That's why the CIA was using it. That's why they had the CIA would steal these planes. They'd go to Africa, these African nations, and they'd see them on the tarmac, and they would hotwire them and steal them, and then rewire them and rip all the shit out and repurpose them for their own things. They're just like pirates. And then they would fly cocaine all around the world, back and forth, everywhere, you know, with this. Jeffrey Epstein bought all these planes. And so who else has got one? Trump.
Shocker. The one guy who's like, I have nothing to do with any of this stuff, even though there's clearly a lot of ties, but I have nothing to do with it. Why are you people still interested in these files?
I'm not saying Donald Trump's doing anything with his airplane. I'm just saying he has the airplane to do it with if he wanted to. That's what the traffickers and the smugglers use, you know, because of that feature. And of course his was rigged with, you know, cameras and whatnot and a bed and all that shit. And it's a big plane. It's a big ass plane, but it apparently is cheap to operate, easy to find parts for. Like they call it like the Toyota Camry of the sky. Like it's just like anything kind of fits. You can fly it forever, cheap to maintain, but it's a jalopy. It's a 50-year-old plane. It's a 1972 plane. You know, so like people go, what the fuck is he doing this with? It's like, well, that's why. He's probably throwing kids out of the back. He's probably throwing these girls that get on the wrong side of him into the Atlantic Ocean out of the back. I mean, possibly, right? Air quotes, possibly. I'm just speculating here, but I'm just, you know.
I mean, that adds a little bit more context to the flight logs possibly, because at that point, I mean, a lot of the assumption has been that the flight logs are people coming to the islands to collect a service. But on the other side, I mean, is it possible that some of these flight logs could possibly be people renting out this plane, that it almost is like a secondary business that they're conducting? So at that point, it adds another layer where the flight logs don't simply mean people going to Epstein's Island, but possibly people like renting out this service of being able to cargo drop. Maybe.
Well, maybe not with the Lolita Express, but definitely when they had Southern Air Transport, because they were flying in all of limited brand stuff from China that was being made, right? So Wexner goes, yeah, I'll buy this CIA airline for my cargo from Asia, because he's running limited, Victoria's Secrets, all that stuff, right? So he just flies it in on this Air Force that they buy, that Epstein buys, because Epstein is the executor of his estate. And so Epstein is the mastermind of that part. And then they relocate it from Southern Florida to Columbus, Ohio. And then Wexner's accountant gets murdered and all kinds of crazy stuff goes on, man. This is a dark, dangerous, satanic cult of blood drinking, baby sacrificing Luciferian lunatics, like Sabbatean Francus, if you want to get like technical and shit.
So do you think, just kind of a weird thing to think about, but considering how many layers there are to Epstein to begin with, I mean, clearly, obviously, this guy was tied into a lot of different things. So do you think part of the reason why they had him tied into so many things is because, you know, if you have somebody that's strictly involved in one operation, then as soon as that person comes out, then all of a sudden, like, everybody has their focus on that one operation. But if you have somebody that's almost like a conspiracy onion like this, where there's just so much information and people don't know which direction to go into, it's almost one of those things where he almost becomes like a thing of like legend or like folklore, because he's involved in tech, he's involved in sex trafficking, he's involved in this with the elites, he's involved in that. So the average person, maybe the what they expected to happen was that the average person would see all of this information, assume it's bullshit, and go elsewhere. But what's happening now is that everybody's like buckling down on this information, and everybody's starting to peel this onion back. And the whole intention was that it was supposed to basically just be like a bomb, that like a chaos bomb. Nobody knew which direction to go, but everybody's hyper focusing in on it. So now everybody's peeling it back, and they're like, oh shit, like what do we do as we get farther into these layers and more people are involved in this? Like, it seemed like it was just like the list kind of like exists out in the atmosphere somewhere, like, you know, it maybe exists somewhere, nobody can actually find it, and now it's like we're on top of the list, and all these people are like, yeah, there's no names involved, there's no list, what are you talking about? Like, you got them backed into a corner, and they know that as soon as that comes out, that it's not even, again, just the sex trafficking, but you're going to be able to look at all those names and know which one of these operations that Epstein was involved in, these other people are involved in. So you might get people on money laundering, child trafficking, smuggling, like all these different things off this list.
Totally.
Hold on tight, guys. We'll be right back after this brief commercial break. And now back to the show.
There's a video I just saw. It's a great one. It's an AI generated video that has the music playing is Traveling Wilburys, Anything You Want, You Got It. And it's Epstein with a cell phone in his hand, and he's taking pictures with everybody. He's walking through different scenes, different boardrooms, different, he walks into the Nickelodeon set and he's got Dan Snyder there, takes a picture with him. You know, so he's walking through. If you can find that video online, and I just saw it, and it didn't get a ton of distribution. I saw it. I went, that's perfect. That is, you know, it just kind of showed like, God, he was involved with everybody, right? And we knew this. I mean, we know. I mean, see, what he would do is he'd throw these big parties, and he'd get a bunch of people to show up, and there wasn't anything inherently nefarious there. Like at the Edge parties. Edge is a tech. I got to look through my notes here. Edge Foundation is like a tech-related. He'd have dinners and things like that. It was financed by Epstein. It was like an annual billionaires dinner. He did it from 2001 to 2017, then stopped funding it. And it would do things. They would send emails like that. Don't miss this. I know you're all busy. Get unbusy. What they wanted people to get unbusy for was at the Edge Foundation dinner that they were going to have. Maria Abramovich was going to be there. They wanted to make sure everybody was there to see her and meet her. And so who are we talking about? Paul Allen, Jeff Bezos, Sergey Brin, Larry Page, that's both Googles. Bill Gates, Marissa Mayer, Yuri Milner, Nathan Myhrvold, number 3 at Microsoft, Sean Parker, first president of Facebook, founder of Napster, Ev Williams, president of Twitter, Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook. You know, it just goes on and on. Elon Musk, Steve Case, you know, like, so you get all these tech people that are interacting with him. They don't need his money. He's not there for money necessarily, but they all know inherently that they need to network through him. And he has major connections, like through Reid Hoffman. And Reid Hoffman is just a sick degenerate, man, founder of LinkedIn. And, you know, he used that guy to pull in a ton of Silicon Valley nerds into his thing. And, you know, he knows how to get them. Like we got girls down at the island. You got Elon Musk in email saying, "Hey man, is there a party going on in the island? I'm down in the British Virgin Islands." And Jeffrey's like, "I'll send a helicopter for you." And Ghislaine's like, "Sorry, party season's over, Elon." Shut him down. You know, so it was like, you know, you get these guys together, you get a couple drinks in them, you get, maybe they're doing ecstasy or doing whatever. They've never had a girl actually like them. Next thing you know, they're getting a back massage and they're dragged into some cabana somewhere, and you know, and you're in it, or worse, or you guys all go down in the underground chambers and you strangle a kid or something.
Epstein almost kind of reminds me of almost like the idea of like the web or the like Google searches for like the dark web, like something like Mariana's Trench, where it's like, all right, here's the catalog for every single dark possible thing that you would want. But in the process of you checking this out, we're of course going to track you. We're going to collect all of your information. We're going to know all of your dark secrets, but you can throw that off to the side because I'm your catalog for anything you could possibly ever want. And I'm sure that a lot of people knew that going in, that they were going to get involved with it. But I mean, how do you get involved with this stuff unless you have a guy for it, you know? And I'm sure that, you know, there was people that accidentally got involved because you have to have the mix up, but there's a lot of people that wanted to get involved. And again, you have to have a guy for it.
These people were not going kicking and screaming.
Mm-mm.
There were only a few interactions that I found. I haven't gone through all the documents, but very few interactions where someone was like, "Go fuck yourself" to Epstein. There was a couple times. It was kind of nice to see. I did think it was funny that Epstein called Madonna cattle. I mean, it's obviously it's like a goyim slur by him. which I don't love, but the fact that it was directed at her is kind of funny because she is kind of cattle.
Yeah, look at any political opinion she's ever shared, and yeah, she's definitely cattle or sheep mentality.
Yeah. That's so funny, man. So anyway, it's just been a, I don't know, like, are your normie friends into this? Are they like talking about it? I know everybody in like my universe is talking about it, but not, I don't know if I sent something over to my normie friends. I didn't get anything back from them. There was no like, oh yeah, shit. Yeah, this Epstein thing is out of control. It was not, I said, hey, did you see this or that? Check this out. Nothing. Are your normie friends like aware of this or not?
Not at all. Honestly, the only thing that I've heard all the normies talking about back and forth is all the ICE stuff. But hey, man, that's part of the subversion, right? You got to keep people preoccupied. Because that was another thing I wanted to bring up with you is the fact that we always talk about these like summer protests. So how weird is it that this one's happening during the winter? This is like the first time I've seen that happen, right?
I was thinking the same thing. This is very weird. But then I was like, it is Minneapolis and they are kind of like savages out there. So maybe like maybe they're all right with it. I personally don't think I would be out protesting if it was that cold. But I was thinking the exact same thing. That it was funny to me that they were doing it in the winter. I thought maybe I don't know. Maybe the calendar's full for summer.
I mean, I see two buildups.
Maybe World War III is planned, and we have to do riots first, and we can only do that during the winter because World War III is going to happen, or the banking collapse.
I was going to say, I was thinking either they got to subvert people or they got to make people look the other way right now. So they just had to pull out the last card they could possibly pull out for winter. Or two, they have such amped up ideas for summer that they have to get people started during the winter because they're not going to be able to bring people to that point of tension by the end of the summer. Like they need more time to do it because if people are already this amped up and it hasn't even hit summer yet, imagine what happens once that heat hits in Minnesota.
Yeah, that could be it. It could be like a slow boil.
Mm-hmm. And it seems like it's a slow boil happening across the country, too, because, I mean, regardless of which side you stand on it, it seems like, each state is taking a side. Like, being a Michigander, you're seeing all the Michiganders stand with Minnesota. So all of this is building up more bottling tension because you got people that don't agree with that, and then you got people that agree with it going back and forth with everybody. There's people arguing at work, and it's like you guys understand the full nobody understands the full situation. Like let's be 100% honest. Like everybody has these diehard opinions that they're willing to die for, but nobody really understands the full opinion on this thing.
No. There's so much happening. Like how can you keep track of it all? And I work in this world, with activist posts too. I'm looking at reading articles all day long. Like I'll come across something and go, oh yeah, I forgot that happened. I forgot they murdered that dude. I forgot they started a war in that country over there. It's like, you go, how do you forget something like that? Oh, Gonzalo Lira. I saw something about him. He's a journalist that got murdered in Ukraine. He was an American journalist. I used to watch his videos, and then it just came up recently. It was like the 4-year anniversary or something of his death. And I remember watching his videos. He's like, I need to leave. I'm probably need to leave. And if I don't leave Ukraine, and they catch me, they're going to kill me. And that was the last of him. He got caught and they killed him. And I was like, fuck, I forgot about that. How do you forget about that? I used to watch that guy. You know what I mean? It's because there's so much going on that, like, as the great Alex Jones says, it's all happening.
Do you want to throw another weird one in too? I mean, I'm surprised that I haven't heard a lot more conspiracy theorists or conspiracy-minded individuals talking about it. But you have all this stuff with, Maduro with Venezuela. But part of the weird part about that was the accounts they came out where they're using some type of Havana syndrome type weapon. And I heard that like 1 or 2 days on like mainstream news, and I haven't heard another peep about it. And it's like, that seems like it's something people should be diving into. If they're claiming that they're using some type of a weapon that everybody's ears started bleeding and everybody started throwing up profusely, like, yeah, what is that? We should be looking into that. But why did that news story just poof right out in the open? Everybody's back on the ice shit.
It sounds like you would want to ask a follow-up question. If you were an actual journalist, you'd say, about that weapon that turns people into powder, that they bring back your body in a shoebox. Could you elaborate on that, or whatever you did to the Cuban guards in Venezuela? I don't know. The story all sounded a bit fishy to me. We got them to admit directed energy existed, which is kind of funny, because I quite literally got kicked off of YouTube for talking about directed energy with Alana Freeland. They didn't appreciate that. That video lasted 4 hours.
Really ironic how you talk about something and you get kicked off for misinformation, and then 2 years later it ends up coming out. I mean, weird how that happens.
Well, I just got my YouTube channel back, which is wild, after 4 years. And I've been repopulating the videos, just doing it. And I have a guy who's in charge of doing that for it, Matt Raymer over at Content Safe, who's fantastic. And I hadn't really checked it in the last, honestly, like 3 weeks, because I just get like 25 views. I've got like 8,000 or 7,500 subscribers I had. So I wasn't even thinking about it. But I went on Sean Atwood's show yesterday to talk about Epstein. And I said, hey, man, mention my YouTube channel since I just got it back. I've got like 7,000 people. Like, it'd be great if you could, send some people my way. And so I checked it just to see if my subscribers had gone up, if anyone had come over. And what I realized was that just randomly, because as Matt is putting these videos up, he can only do so many, like I think you can only do 3 a day. And I had 4 years, I had like 400 videos that needed to get up there. So he was just doing them as fast as he could. But just coincidentally, a couple days ago, my David Icke video came on. My David Icke video was my first strike from YouTube. And what's funny is that it must have been like everybody from Sean's show came over to check out my channel and saw that David Icke video and watched it, because my views are like, for every other episode is like maybe 100 views. Generous. More like 45 views. And then the David Icke one is like 6,000. I was like, oh, like, what a turnaround, because you deleted the last David Icke video I had. That got me a strike. That was my first strike. That got me put on the radar with YouTube. And then it was like, bam, bam, Celeste Solum, and then Alana Freeland talking about space fence. And 4 hours later, I was done. And now not only is my channel back, but I just put a David Icke video out, and I'll be damned if they didn't allow people to actually watch it. I'm a bit surprised. I almost feel like I almost feel like it's a setup.
I was just about to say, there's something weird going on with YouTube and TikTok, because I was about to bring this up as you were talking about this, man. YouTube, it seems like they're starting to operate like Rumble, where I can post stuff and I'm getting flagged everywhere else, but I don't get flagged on YouTube. Prime example, you know who Richard Gage is, talking about 9/11 from an architect's perspective, and that's like, who is more qualified to talk about that? So I ended up making a couple reels and I posted them on TikTok, and literally within like 4 or 5 reels that I posted one where I called AI clanker, and they saw that as a racial slur, so I got flagged for that one. I posted those videos from him, and 2 of them instantly got flagged for misinformation, and my account ended up getting like warnings. They ended up getting banned, and I got shadow banned for a couple weeks, and all of a sudden it popped back up a couple days ago. But those banned videos, because they could see the ones around it, pushed everybody over where that information ended up being the stuff that people ended up wanting to view the most. But it's kind of weird how they're doing this thing where it's like, TikTok's trying to learn from like what YouTube was doing, that if you try to ban this information or you try to get rid of the information, it pushes people back to it. I'm almost wondering if YouTube is doing this thing where they're realizing that if you get rid of it, it draws people's attention to it. If you just leave it alone, it's just going to become part of the scattered chaos that is the internet, and people aren't going to end up touching it. So that's what I'm starting to wonder with what's going on, because it seems like they flipped where TikTok, you could get away with posting just about anything. And now it's like almost just stupid shit. Like I said clanker, and they saw that as racially insensitive, even though I'm talking about AI. Like, what are you fucking talking about?
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm just kind of going with the flow with YouTube. My feeling is whatever I get from it is gravy, because I don't expect my channel to be there. It's been gone for, for 4 years. It's like, my show's been around now for 6. So, I don't have much invested in it. Anybody that views it is just, it's just a freebie to me as far as I'm concerned. So, and I certainly don't, could never monetize it. I don't think they would allow. That'd be funny though. I'd like to see. I don't know what the criteria is for me to monetize it, but I like with Sean. I was talking to Sean before we went live on his show, and I was like, dude, congratulations on hitting 1 million subscribers for your channel. How? Like, I don't mean like content wise. I mean, how have you managed to not say the word, that gets you shut down? Because we're talking about the same stuff. And he's like, it's like code words. Like we had, instead of pedophiles, we had to call them PDF files.
That's a good one.
It is a good one. I was like, oh God, man, I should have thought of that. That's good. But like he live streams and he's got to think about all this stuff. I'm like, So there's like a coded language you have to talk if you want to survive on YouTube, which is retarded, but it's a calculation you make too. It's then it's like you get in that dilemma of like, do you censor yourself, which you should never do, or do you just consider that getting 80% of the audience is good enough? Don't I don't know how to frame it, but you go. You talk about it. I don't know.
No, I mean, I get what you're saying though.
It's frustrating. I feel like I'm sorry. I just feel like half of my time is spent trying to figure out how the fuck I'm navigating in their stupid system, and all I want to do is like make an episode about the stuff that matters, and instead I'm getting like drawn away into all this bullshit of like trying to figure out, better not say this word, you got to have the right keyword and all this stuff. And it's just like, I'm at the point where it's like, put it on YouTube. If you take my channel down, fine. I don't give a fuck. If somebody sees it there, good. Please come anywhere else but there. Like consider that an on-ramp, and then come, because I can't play the game just to keep YouTube. Because it's like building it on a foundation of quicksand. So, I'm tempted to just not even put like full videos on there, and just say like, for the real thing, go somewhere else,
That's what I end up doing a lot of the time, to be honest with you. Like, if I know something's going to get flagged right off the bat, I'll just put it right up on Rumble. I won't even put it up on YouTube. If I put clips, I'll put like I'll put links over to like the Rumble feed, for example. But it's like you were saying, like if you have to censor yourself to a certain point, you're breaking away from the language anyways of what you're actually trying to say. And then you start like losing the audience within that. But I mean, expanding even past that, it kind of makes you wonder if it may not even be a matter of playing the game necessarily, but just a matter of there's so many narratives going on. There's such a need for all of this chaos going on. It makes you wonder if it's a matter of they just let certain voices be heard because they're spinning up enough chaos where, whether you're right, whether you're wrong, what they're trying to do now is that there's just so much information that they're just trying to throw out as much of it as they possibly can so that people don't know which direction to go into. And as long as you're not talking about these specific trigger topics, then you're good. Like, as long as you're not talking about, the juice boxes, for example, as they like to call them on YouTube, like, you're good. But there's these certain topics. But if you're talking about government conspiracies coming from, like, anti-Trump, anti-whatever, like, all that stuff's fine. You just can't talk about this specific group. But as soon as you do, then, of course, that's when the channels get pulled down. But we've gotten in such a weird spot with the culture that it's like, YouTube, they don't pull down these guys for being like white guys dropping the N-bomb regularly on their shows, but yet, you say this certain word about like, 9/11 or something like that, and your entire channel gets pulled. Like it's a weird ploy, like something weird is going on. Like, in what other world is it okay? I don't even want to say okay, but because it's totally freedom of speech, but how is one thing not getting flagged, but the other one isn't? Or even just like people talking about instilling violence onto other people. Like 5 years ago, anybody talking anything like that, channel instantly would have been pulled. Now it's like, anybody that's talking violence, yeah, dude, they're fucking all over TikTok, they're all over YouTube, all that stuff. But if you try to put down a rational argument, instant misinformation, pulled, done, flagged.
Like Richard Gage.
Yeah, exactly.
On TikTok. I have to tell you this story. The first time I met him, I got invited to a wedding of this guy named Benny Wills, he used to be the MC of Anarchapulco, and he used to do this thing called Joy Camp, which was this hilarious like skit comedy group that would make these great conspiracy YouTube videos that were fantastic. And Benny invited me to his wedding in Washington, and the state, not DC. And my wife couldn't go. I went by myself. I didn't really know who was going to be there. Just kind of went, I knew him, but I didn't know anyone else. I got seated at the wedding next to Richard Gage. And I go, "You're in my octopus book." And he said, "What?" And I said, "I wrote a book and you're in my octopus book." He says, "Wow, that's amazing." And I said, "No, let me like reframe that. I have a chapter in my book that is titled Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth." He was like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "And you got seated next to me?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "That's crazy." So we just talked for hours. I just drank beers and talked for hours with him. And then from that, I said, "You got to speak at Anarchapulco. Like I said, "Why have you been a speaker in Anarchapulco?" He goes, "No." I said, "Oh my God, like you got to do it." Like he goes, "Well, make it happen." I said, "All right, I'll." He said, "Do you know Jeff?" I said, "I'm writing a book with him." And he was like, "Oh my God." So this was 2019. I said, I'll message him. And next thing I know, I'm in Mexico and there's Richard just absolutely crushing in front of 3,000 people there or whatever it was. And saw him and again went out and talked about 9/11 with him. Again, years later, New York City, same thing, 9/11 on 9/11, doing an event with him on 9/11 in New York City. It's pretty cool. We did that. Free World NYC, 6 speakers. Don Jeffries was there. Tony Arterburn was there. Billy Ray Valentine, Wayne McCroy, and yeah, man.
Richard Gage, man, he's one of those people that it just really it shows how things actually function. That he comes at it from an architect's perspective. He literally just states simply facts, talking about, the little tiny pieces of the balls within the dust particles and everything. He talks about showing what it looks like from a controlled demolition versus this demolition that's supposedly said was caused from explosions, blah, 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 blah. He explains it in the most rational way possible. And his entire argument is that he essentially just wants to simply open the case to get it reinvestigated. And that is one of the key things that gets shut down on almost every single social media site that I try to post him on. Out of any conspiracy that anybody talks about, the guy that's just trying to state simple scientific facts to reopen an investigation, not even pointing fingers, because he's very specific about not wanting to speculate. He just tries to lay down the information, and he is one of like the top people that gets pulled. Like, that is just baffling, and it really just shows the state of the world that we really do live in as far as them trying to suppress information, because that just shows that there's clearly something to his research if he's simply just trying to reopen the case and they're trying that hard to shut down every possible thing that has to do with that guy.
They had the best ad campaign. They on the 15-year anniversary, I think. They ran this campaign, Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth, ran it in about a dozen major cities, bus ads, billboards, and it said, "Did you know a third building fell on 9/11?" That was it. And then Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth.
The crazy thing was, until I got into conspiracies, like, even I didn't know that. Like, most people really don't know that. Like, that is...
I told him, like, I said, like, not to like toot my own horn, Richard, but like, I do have a marketing degree from a top 25 university and did work for a top ad agency. And I will tell you my unofficial opinion on that is that it was just brilliant. I just thought it was brilliant. Did you know a third building fell in 9/11? If you go, yeah, then you know what he's talking about. If you go, what? No, I didn't. I live in New York. I didn't know that, right? Or somebody who's there is like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, they must be wrong, right? Go home, look it up. You're in the bus, pull it up on your phone. Oh, holy shit. Whoa, wait, what? That building? I didn't know anything about that. Wait, why don't I know anything about that? Especially if you live in New York. So I thought that was great because it encouraged people to research on their own.
That's what I was
tell
about to
them
say. Anything.
You didn't tell them anything. You simply said, "Did you know?" And you're inviting them to. The person asking the question, "Did you know a third building fell on 9/11?" is not there to listen to your answer. You are stuck there to go, well, no, I didn't know. And then you have to look it up. If you're curious, you have to look it up. And once you see building 7, I mean, that's why we picked the cover. Because once you see that building go down, you go, wait a second, what really happened here? Like if this building came down in a controlled demolition, then those other two did as well. And now we've got a different story. So I think that once people allow themselves to ask that question, this is why I love Richard Gage. I mean, he to me, that was the event that changed my life. I watched it in real time. I was 27 when that happened. And it was wild. And for me to be like, to not know at all, like be a total normie while I'm watching that and not figure it out for a couple of years. Like to just, I don't know, man, something about some people take that personally, that they were lied to about that. Like I took that personally for some reason, that like the audacity to lie to us about that. And like, if that's a lie, if you're willing to lie about that, you're willing to lie about anything, right? And actually what woke me up was Iraq, the Iraq war in 2003. You're like, we've got to go into Iraq because Saddam Hussein has chemical weapons or weapons of mass destruction. And we're like, He's like, aluminum tubes. We're like, And they're like, 9/11. I was like, whoa. What do you mean 9/11? This is the first time hearing about 9/11. Saddam Hussein was involved in 9/11. Why didn't I hear about that the last 2 years? Now all of a sudden he's involved in that. Please tell us. Oh yeah, he was maybe involved in 9/11. I go, you know what? This whole Iraq war sales pitch sounds like bullshit to me. This war, it sounds like you really want this war, and you're trying to use 9/11 as justification. Is that a lie too? And then I start to look and I go, oh my God, right? So that's like the work that somebody like Richard Gage is doing is fundamental to understanding the world in which you live in. And he's the perfect guy for it, because he's buttoned up enough. He's not super buttoned up in real life, by the way, but he looks buttoned up enough. He's presentable. You go, hey, Richard, you don't look like a retard.
He's also got the documentation at least, because we know how important it is to the other side to have that documentation that says how smart you are.
We all look deeply unserious. You look like $1 million. You go talk about 9/11. That's what I always tell him. Like, I appreciate the coat and tie. You know what I mean? I'm not doing it, but I appreciate it. He's doing it.
Inquiries of Our Reality will be right back after this brief commercial break, so stay tuned. And now back to the show. It's crazy that even now, it's like we still have just as much information like the first day as we do now, that we've really have not gotten anywhere as far as like the mainstream narrative goes, as far as like 9/11 goes. And I've kind of wondered, like, do you think it's possible for them to actually pull off full-scale operations like that end up leading into wars anymore? Because it seems like there's always these constant operations where they're trying to push people into different things. I mean, obviously COVID was this big operation, but it seems like every time they try to like kickstart these operations to go into war now, like nobody wants to fight anymore. Like you were kind of mentioning back then, it's like, all right, we had this event happen. 2 years later, we're going to tie this other event in with this event, and people are still going to be interested in going and fighting. But now it's like, I kind of wonder if they would even be able to even pull off an operation like this, between one, nobody even wanting to go to war and needing every single detail to be able to actually be even maybe slightly on board to get into it, on top of also every single piece of video footage now gets so overanalyzed by everybody that even simply just looking at the Charlie Kirk thing, you have some people that are saying, oh, there's a guy who has a gun in his hand. There's one person that's like, oh, there's a second person shooting. There's another person that's like, oh, his vest exploded. Like, just from the video footage, you have like 10 different viewpoints that people are seeing. So it gets so impossible that I like don't feel like these operations could work to the full scale that they used to, just because of the way that people are now.
Unless the goal is just confusion. Muddy the waters, put enough garbage out there, nobody knows what's what, and they just give up. Obama talked about doing this. He talked about that as a strategy. Flood the zone with bad information. So much garbage, internet sewage. You don't know what's going on. You just throw your hands up and go, I should probably just focus on my family. Honestly, like I that really is where I should be. Ironically, it might actually be the best thing for people is to get to the point where they just go, you know what? I don't need this anymore. This doesn't improve my life. Listening to what's going on, and I have empathy for the people in the Middle East who are experiencing this genocide, and I strongly disagree with it. And I know that it is happening, and I republish it like crazy over at Activist Post, but it's also, I have to be honest and recognize it's not going to impact me, most likely. I mean, realistically, it's not going to. And I have to recognize that. And I have to make sure that I'm not feeding myself too much doom and gloom, because I don't think that's good for us too. So like trying to find some sort of perspective where it's like to be knowledgeable about what's going on, but not inundated with the information to the point where it starts to impact you, we're talking about some pretty heavy stuff, I mean, like when you're talking about Gaza, you're talking about heavy stuff. And it's like, you have a duty to understand what's happening there and to talk about it, but also not like, not let it like destroy you too. It's heavy. And I say this because I've been writing off and on for 3 years. I usually write during the summer, a book on eugenics. And it's like, I realize the reason why I don't write like 12 months straight is because like after a couple of months, it's just so heavy and like hard on your soul to like write about, you have to trying to perfect the perfect paragraph about child sacrifice. You know what I mean? Like, and you're just like, oh. So it's hard to like think about this stuff all the time. You know what I mean?
Do you think that might be part of like what the thought might be, that they've gotten everybody stirred up so much on each side that maybe part of the idea is that they want to get a good portion of people where they're just disconnected from it, but they're still connected into the system, meaning that they're still paying taxes, they're still doing all of this stuff, but they're not involved in voting, they're not involved in politics, they're not involved in any of it, which, is definitely a way to live. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to tell anybody that it's not. But on the other side of it, if you have less people that are involved in the political stuff, then you have more people or less people that are actually shifting the opinions back and forth. So if you have this crowd that is disconnected and wants nothing to do with it, and then you have this other crowd that you clearly see that you can dangle a piece of fruit in any direction, and they're going to end up following that piece of fruit, wouldn't it be easier to shift policies, laws, all that type of stuff with like a smaller group and a smaller number? Because, we get into this philosophy all the time that it's easier to control the smaller number of people. This is like always the constant philosophy. But on the other flip side of that, if you can't get rid of the people, you just get them to disconnect, and then you deal with less people, and then you can get things shifted in a lot easier.
And while they're depopulating too.
Exactly.
At the same time. And moving into, as you say, you don't need all these people. You don't need all these people voting. You could centralize it into a technocracy and just have control by the few digitally. And that's what they would prefer to go to, right? So you're always thinning the herd. And while you're doing that, also you're demoralizing a segment of the population that's going, I'm not doing this anymore. I don't want to vote. I don't want to be around you people. And then whoever's left over is either sick, controllable through universal basic income, out of work because something took their job, automation, AI, some dude who's willing to do it for half the price, somebody who they outsourced it to India, some guy with an H-1B visa, I don't know, whatever. Name the reason somebody could be unemployed. It's just a bad combination. Yeah.
Say, as soon as people don't have a purpose, they don't have a direction. Like you were kind of mentioning, it's self-population control, because when people don't see a future, they're not reproducing, they're not having more kids. So then who ends up reproducing? It's the people that are, living off of the system, so to speak. So those people have no problem reproducing when the state's helping to afford their kids. And a lot of those time, those people have the ideology of like, I don't want to tell them that I'm the mother. I don't want to tell them I'm the father. We're just kind of like the parent giver together. And when you already take away that, I don't want to say ownership, but like that possession over your own child, you're only just one step away from giving it away to the state at that point, right? Because if you don't want to take responsibility for the things that you've done at this point, because everybody else is so disconnected, just feed it back to the state and it's not your problem anymore.
The state would love that. They would absolutely love that.
Just a matter of time before you get a tax cut for giving your kid to the state.
100%. Cash for clunkers. Used to have that program in your cars, right? Cash for kids. That was like a scandal with some judge. Maybe they could have the new Epstein do some sort of program. Yeah, talk into. We can make it environmentally friendly. Well, hell, in Canada, with their medical assistance and dying program, they're trying to kill everybody. Like, they don't give like, tore your ACL? Would you like to die? It's crazy. So there's a whole euthanasia fad happening in Canada, which is
weird thing to think about. But has the organ, like the whole organ market in Canada, gone up significantly? Because I mean, you look into the weird stuff in China with all the Tibetans that disappeared, and all of a sudden there was all this market for people going over there to get organs. I'm honestly curious if you follow the money trail, if there's anything going on with Canada where, maybe there may not be anything on paper, but what are they doing with these bodies afterwards? Are they, conducting any type of experiments on them for the state? Are they collecting organs off them? Are the people that are organ donors, are they more likely to say like, oh, this person's an organ donor? Yeah. You hurt your foot today. You want to commit suicide? Yeah, no problem. Are they more prone to push the people that are organ donors? Are they more prone to ask people to be an organ donor before they'll accept them? Like, I feel like there's a whole huge industry that could be hidden behind this that people don't even realize.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Canada with that, but I know that in the U.S., being an organ donor is not as good of an idea as people think it is.
I know, at least in the U.S.,
incentives for the hospitals to declare you brain dead and things like that. Like it is. I don't have the details to talk about it, so I probably won't. But there's problems with that as well, right? The organ donation component isn't what people think it is. That's kind of like, again, sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but that program is corrupted as well.
I mean, one thing to think about in Canada too is they also have the stuff where it's all set up through the state. So essentially, everybody's on a waiting list. It's not run as like a capitalist country, so it's not like you can just buy your way into the list. So if there was people that were committing suicide, their organs are, going elsewhere, how hard would it be to intercept that if you were somebody with enough money in Canada that, the family thinks that they're just simply going to the funeral? The family's not looking inside of the bodies. How many organs could be disappearing? And it's totally a secret market because of the way that the medical system works in Canada.
Those bastards killed my friend Kev Baker in Glasgow, Scotland. He was the host of the Kev Baker Show. I did his show once a month, every month for 4 years, and he was one of my best friends. And we would talk all the time. And he had COPD, and he was Scottish, and he was on their socialized healthcare plan, which required him, he got on the lung transplant list, but required him to be up to date on vaccines. Now, we had done a bunch of shows about vaccines. He knew, he's like, I don't want to take it. But here's the thing. If I don't, they throw me off the transplant list. If they throw me off the transplant list, I'm going to die. It's like, so they put him in this impossible situation. Ultimately, during COVID, they put him on a ventilator and killed him.
They get you trapped in those positions where it's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. They're doing the same thing with people with their jobs. They were saying like, you don't have to get it, but if you don't get it, you're going to get fired. Like, same thing with a lot of the medical stuff. You don't have to get this experimental vaccine, but if you don't, there's more people that are willing to play ball that we got to make sure that they stay up higher on the list. And that's even scarier than the job thing, because they're playing with your life at that point. But if you're already, have medical issues, like any rational thinking person, like, yeah, let's put another experimental thing in me when I'm already having medical issues. That makes sense.
The second you come down with something like that, you have to get out of that country. You have to immediately start your own protocol on trying to get healthy. I'm not suggesting you have to leave to go get an organ from some black market or anything like that, but you can't sit around waiting for socialized healthcare medicine to maybe sort of kind of take care of you. Like, oh my God, you got to get out of there.
Dude, this is a huge market that I think not a lot of people actually put a lot of consideration into, because, think about how many of these elites are into this whole idea about keeping themselves going forever. And part of that, of course, is replacing parts when they start going down. So, if you start looking at the aspect of like, how many people go missing from other places, how many of these countries will do these weird things where people will do like safaris where they'll go and like sit up on ridges and like snipe people down in villages and stuff. Like, is all of this actually just a black market for like organ hunting for people? Because I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's a huge market that, other than China, like you really don't hear too much about this whole underground organ trade. I mean, there was a lot of jokes in like 90s movies, 2000s movies, like a lot of this raunchy stuff that doesn't really get talked about. But just like a lot of that stuff, those jokes disappeared, ironically.
Used to be that you would get packed in ice in a bathtub in a Vegas hotel room with a laceration stitched up on your back from where one of your kidneys had been removed after that delightful Brazilian prostitute took you up to your room. Yeah, but it's changed. And
why just take one body part when you can take the whole person and scrap out every single piece? There's a lot more money to be made. And I mean, even beyond trafficking, if you scrap out the parts, it's a lot more money to be made.
And so these companies go into these areas that are in the middle of wars, usually started by the American Empire, like Yugoslavia, back in like 1999, 2000, the NATO war that was going on there. Companies like DynCorp would go in there, military industrial company, private company, would go in there and, have flights in and out, doing all kinds of things, bringing in logistics, but also moving people in and out in an official capacity and in an unofficial capacity. And that came out years later, but like the helicopter that Epstein has is a DynCorp helicopter that was used in Yugoslavia to move people. That's not accidental. The guy that owned the CIA airplane company also owned the helicopter from DynCorp, who was running kids in Serbia.
Like I said, it all links, man. Like, even beyond, like, even with the trafficking stuff, I mean, what do you do with the people after they've been completely worn out and they're done? Because, I mean, like, a lot of these girls, man, like, they go through that stuff and they get to a certain point where they're just done. I mean, you got to do something with them, I guess. You just kill them, you're not making the full money off them, unfortunately.
Yeah, you take them underground, harvest their organs and sell them, or bring people in and
drop them off the back of the plane somewhere as you're flying around doing routes.
Drop them out of the back of the plane. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm just speculating, but I mean, if you're a rich billionaire connected to the Epstein network who's dying of kidney failure, you need a kidney. You're not going to the hospital. You're asking your network people, hey, where can I get a kidney? Maybe you get one at Zorro Ranch from some, pristine body, pristine person that's just been lured there with a modeling contract and has been abducted. I don't know.
It almost kind of makes you wonder too, with like the context of like the kids too, that it makes you wonder if they play a double. They have two purposes. That, if somebody is going around, they're buying these children from some of these elites. Is it just an intention that they want to be able to keep, a body part pure until the thing's of age and they use it and have fun with it till then? And then once they're of age, they can take that part and remove it and use it, like such as not having a lot of like alcohol abuse or something like that or whatever. Like, it almost kind of makes you wonder if it seems like it's, there's got to be multiple purposes for these things. Because again, even these pedophile people, once they've had their fun with a person that's younger, like, what's the next step? Everybody has the adrenochrome concept, but this carcass is still there after that.
Yeah, if you're best friends with a billionaire, but that billionaire insists that you never drink alcohol or do any drugs, maybe you are a walking potential cadaver for him to pick through your pristine organs. He's like, you shouldn't be eating that. Like, why? Why do you care all of a sudden? take better care of your liver.
You're just saying this because you're a eugenicist, right? Yeah, that's why.
Right. Measuring your biceps, measuring your arm, measuring your skull. Yeah, I mean, if anything, we've learned from these Epstein emails that they're into all that. Every conspiracy that you thought of is true. Unfortunately, like every all that Pizzagate talk, all that like coded language stuff, like it's all in there. All the like calling non-Jews goyim stuff, it's in there. Having an email where the subject line is yacht slut, it's in there. It's got a little something for everybody. Yeah, exactly. That's how I see it with the Epstein files. Just a little something for everybody.
Hold that thought. We'll be right back after this brief commercial break. And now back to that deep conversation you crave. I'm going to ask you this one too, because I know that you've probably done a lot of research into all these random videos coming out about Epstein. Do you think that there's any actual validity to this? Because we've lived in an age now where it's like there's so much AI stuff. People hear about the Epstein documents coming out. People start producing these videos. Like, do you think that there's anything actually to any of these Epstein videos that have been released of him like running around the kitchen, chasing little girls, like all this kind of weird stuff?
I'm going to assume that anything like that I see is fake.
That was my assumption too.
I'm just going to assume that. I'm going to be wrong about some of it, but I'm okay with that. Because I'm of the belief, I mean,
it centers focus on a dead guy, right? If you make it so that all the videos coming out are just him, we
would have seen it by now. You know what I mean? We would, I don't know. I feel like we would have seen a lot of it by now. I mean, I get here, unless they do this, unless the text transcribed conversations, the emails, the stuff that we're getting in this first batch, maybe that's like the first phase. That's the punishment for not going to war with Iran already. And maybe the second wave will be videos.
I almost wonder if the
Trump,
Epstein thing could simply be like a nuke button that they're trying to set up, because we kind of hear about this concept of like the New World Order, that we have to destroy the old system in order for the new system to come in. So, what's not a better way to destroy the old system than to essentially have this nuke button that's set up, where as soon as you have everything set up and the new system's ready, all you have to do is go boom. Whole system collapses and you're able to restart the system. Like, it almost kind of feels like they're preemptively setting it up where they have this trigger, this trigger they can just flick. And at that point, everybody's going to be looking for something new. And if they have this new guy that comes out and he's like, yeah, I've been onto this Epstein stuff from the beginning. We need to restart this entire system. Boom. They just caught you into this new trap with this stuff.
Oh, 1,000,000%. I could see something like that happening. This is like the massive overreaction, to this. I'm always looking for like the trap. I'm always wondering if there's cheese. Why is it free? Like what's going on here? If the Epstein information, like, are we being lulled into some false sense of reality? Like, is this a limited hangout? Like, are we to believe that this is it? Because it's only one email address. They're thinking he's got others, maybe. I'm wondering what this is distracting us from. Also, like, if we're all talking about this, what aren't we talking about? Because that's, as we know, a fantastic tactic of manipulation, is to distract with something rightly important, like what Epstein was doing, while doing something else that would otherwise take the headlines, something that is maybe even more unpopular than this, though I really kind of find that hard to believe there's anything more unpopular than Jeffrey Epstein these days. But
I mean, on top of that, you also have all this stuff going on with like borders. They want to change the borders, change Greenland, change this, change that. Like, you got all the ice stuff, as I was mentioning. Like, there's so much crazy stuff going on that it's just like, what is it? Like, I'm having a hard time figuring out what they're trying to distract everybody from.
I maybe a buildup for World War III. I mean, I was looking at, I was looking at the Venezuela stuff, trying to sort it out. I mean, and I thought, well, actually, two places: Venezuela and Nigeria. There's like some Christians uprising, Christians getting killed in Nigeria, and some, and I go, oh, that sounds like the CIA, right? And then there was the Maduro stuff in Venezuela, and I was looking at that and I was going, wow, that's really weird. Both of these at the same time. What do they have in common? Because it doesn't, on the surface, it doesn't appear like anything. But they're both massive oil producing countries, and they're both geographically set up where they're just direct shots. Venezuela to Houston is just a straight shot north, and Nigeria on the western coast of Africa to Houston is just a straight shot west. It doesn't have to go through Suez, doesn't have to go around the Strait of Hormuz, doesn't have to go through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait or the Red Sea or any of these maritime choke points. It doesn't have to go anywhere near that. It can just go straight up and straight over. And I went, holy shit. They're shoring up their oil supply lines before war. If you were going to war, that's what you would do. You would make sure you had two different sources of oil that were going to be unimpacted by anything in the Middle East, and there's going to be a war. And they know it's coming because they're going to start it. And if you know that there's going to be a war, you would most definitely make sure that you had two great sources of oil, and I see both of those, and so that is my speculation. Right?
That would make a lot more sense with the whole great replacement theory concept, because as I was mentioning earlier, it seems like most Americans, most Europeans, nobody wants to fight. You see it especially in like Germany. All these people, young people don't want to fight. So great replacement theory. You have all of these people come in. All these people want official citizenship. So what are they going to do to get official citizenship? Because they've been watching people like ICE tear them out of the country. You go to war, your whole family gets citizenship. Boom. All these people have been deported. You want to come back into the country? All you have to do is fight in our war, and you get citizenship for you and your family. Seems like it's a lot more of these weird facets that don't make sense could potentially line up and make sense if you view it with that bigger context.
It's all gonna be so obvious in the end. You're gonna go, of course, that because military age fighting, man. Yeah, they kept saying that over and over again. Yeah. I wonder why they said that. I wonder why these people didn't look like they were qualified for anything. Oh wait, they're qualified to be cannon fodder. Yeah, hell yeah, that would work, right? They're qualified to be incompatible with the cultures of the countries in which they're being imported into, and therefore just creating tension and chaos just by their mere existence in there. Of course, they'll also be disproportionately favored, which will piss off the host people, which it has.
I mean, could that cause a temporary shift too, where it seems like the white males in America, for example, are kind of getting like phased out, and it seems like the white females in America obviously are involved with a lot of this ICE stuff on the other side that have a very differing opinion from like the white males, for example. So if you push out these white males, for example, you have these white females that are into this whole ICE idea. You have all of these people that are coming in that are military fighting age. It sounds like you may even have a wife possibly set right back up at home for them that have the same views and opinions for them. So it just sounds like another way that you could promote them to want to go to war for you.
Totally. They think of everything. You know that they've considered this how this will play. How do we do it? How do we get these people to want to fight? How do we, should we pay them? Can we force them? That doesn't really work well. Forced people don't fight very well. Definitely have to terrify them. So expect a false flag, in America.
And you got to remember what happens directly after a war, too. So it doesn't matter how big the false flag is. They're going to have a baby boom right after the war. So they can get rid of as many people as they want to, and they'll have a fresh start directly after.
Great. Epstein files, he's talking about Ukraine in 2014 when the Maidan coup was kicking off. He's talking to somebody about how it was a great opportunity. Make a lot of money there.
Is it a matter of time before they start doing what they're kind of hinting at doing in Gaza, for example? 15-minute city's got to have a startup somewhere. But what's the easiest way to have a new place to start up?
15-minute city.
Yeah, you got to destroy it first.
Yeah. I mean, it was the first generation version of a 15-minute city. It was surveilled completely. It was walled off. Everything was monitored. So before people, you go, 15-minute city would be great, man. I mean, just ride your bicycle everywhere. You don't need a car. Save the whales. Yeah. What do you think about Gaza? I don't mean like the rubble of Gaza now. I mean when it was functioning. That was a 15-minute city that was not thriving. Did not have an airport anymore. They bombed the shit out of it. Had an airport from 1998 to 2001, but it doesn't have an airport anymore. Because you don't get an airport in your 15-minute city. You're not allowed to leave. Can't leave. It's a prison. It's an open-air prison. That's what it is. And so, I wish the example wasn't going to cost, all these lives. But I think, people are unfortunately looking at the future. If they allow these monsters to continue with Gaza, this is coming elsewhere. This ideology, this destruction, this group is going to spread. They have patches on their uniforms that are talking about a much bigger plan, maybe even a greater plan.
Just a matter of waiting to see what exactly happens with all this stuff, man, because there's so much hectic stuff all going on right now that it seems like at some point soon, like there's got to be some type of point where all of this meets up and it all makes sense. And unfortunately, I feel like once we get to that point, we're already in the eye of the storm, so it's going to be too late to actually back out of any of it. But all we can do right now is try to speculate at least a little bit and try to understand the situation so that we can at least mentally prepare ourselves for what could possibly be coming in the future. Yeah. But it feels like almost at a certain point too that it's just, if you constantly always keep people in the state of always expecting that something is going to happen, like it's causing like trauma to the people on a whole other state, that you're causing people to now act and have irrational decisions to things because they're always expecting something to come around the corner. So most things, I feel like this is multifaceted. They want some people that are always on high alert. They want the people that they can push around and get to have whatever opinions they want. And they want people to completely disassociate. Like these psyops have gotten so dense now that people try to look for one answer to why something's happening. And it seems like it used to be like that in the past, but now, because information is so complex, the world has gotten so complex, I don't think any of these operations have one definite answer. Every single thing has multiple functions, and if one function doesn't work, there's a second function for it to be able to shift over to. So the whole idea is it's so big and complex that nobody can ever fully figure it out until you're already in the center of it, because the pieces won't unfold until it's too late, unfortunately.
I always think of NATO and their strategy of tension. That was what they called it, what was going on in Western Europe when they were running Gladio. And you think about that as a concept, the strategy of tension. They were like, well, what? Just create random chaos in different places to keep people destabilized and keep them in a fight or flight mode, and keep them kind of not making long-term plans, weren't really short-term decisions because they're terrified or manipulating their opinion. They were in the case of Gladio, they were doing it to manipulate public opinion to vote different ways and things like that. But it works. Setting up bombs, blowing up cars, and shooting up railways, and shooting up grocery stores, and all that stuff. It works. Scary, and people feel differently in the aftermath of that. So, strategy of tension is what it feels like right now. Where we're because it's like, is it any one thing? It's like, no, it's just everything. It's a little bit of everything, and it's just feels like it's getting kind of cranked up a little bit. Like you said, maybe it's just the warm up to get us ready for summer, and that's really when 250th anniversary. Maybe 4th of July. We have a big blow off 4th of July party, right?
If it's this tense in a winter, man, I can only imagine.
In the aftermath, a new financial system in the aftermath, maybe a war, maybe, I don't know. Maybe we take Greenland, start our 251st year with North American Technate, start capturing Cuba. I mean, like, quite literally anything is on the table these days.
I mean, the way that it's lining up, it almost kind of seems like the intention is that the U.S. is fully intending on trying to take over the entire Western Hemisphere, because just in the time that Trump's been in office, you already got him saying, Gulf of America, we want Greenland, we want to take control of these places down in South America. Like, at a certain point, you just have to stand back and look at the fact that the intention is that we're trying to essentially control the entire Western Hemisphere.
Yeah, we are. That's the new plan. Be careful what you wish for, because you don't want to take over these countries. You take on all their liabilities too. Like, you don't want to take over Cuba. Like, you don't want to take over Venezuela. Maybe the oil companies are like, yeah. But the fucking headache of taking care of like millions of people and that socialized stuff, and then you got your own problems. Like, you don't need to be doing that. So management, coordination on policy, that's the more realistic clumping together. Not so much a flag, not so much like a new map, but more like a policy decision as everybody, because that's what they learned about the world government stuff. It's like, you can't do world government. You can do world governance. And if you do that, it's more feasible for the small to control the many, just through policy decisions. I apologize. I burned the shit out of my tongue before this interview, so I've been struggling. I'm dying with it. But so I'm lisping all over the place.
I haven't even noticed it makes you feel any better. So
well, good, because it's killing me, and I feel like I'm lispy. But there's, I don't know. It's just there's. I don't know how you're doing it, but I'm trying to balance out, like, processing this massive amount of information of all this crazy stuff that's going on right now, and still, like, not feeling overwhelmed or black-pilled, as they say. But you know what I mean, like despondent about the direction things are going. I haven't heard a ton of good news lately. It feels like a lot of bad news. What about you? I mean, are you feeling this as well? Am I the only one?
I mean, it's starting to get to the point, like you were kind of saying, it's like strategy of tension, where, for me at least, my way of kind of getting away from, like, obviously a lot of like the heavy dark stuff that I dive into is breaking away with just some light, TV shows, just watching Star Trek, watching whatever. But it seems like even stuff like that. It's like getting difficult because I'm not to bitch about fucking Star Trek again, but like, let's be honest, man. I'm sure everybody's heard about Star Trek Academy, and it's like, now you're fucking up the spot where I can go to relax. So now it's like, you're amping me up because you're getting rid of my place to relax. So it's weird because it's touching other places now. Because it's like before you could just kind of dive in your conspiracies, set it off to the side for a minute, go hang out with your family, go out, go do something. But now it's like, the woke stuff went away for a while, and now it's like this push is coming back again, but it's coming back in weird places. It's not in the schools as much as it used to. It's not in all these normal places that were just getting hardcore pushed. Like, that's dying out in other places. But Star Trek, for example, that's like, let's be honest, like an old white guy show. What's happening here? Like, why is it showing up here now? Like, we've clearly pushed it out in other places. Why is it popping up in places that it's like the least expected place that you would see it? Because it's building up this strategy of tension that there's nowhere you can go where you don't feel like you're fucking crazy now.
True. You can't, you just go, well, I can't, well, they destroyed Star Wars. Kathleen Kennedy destroyed Star Wars years ago. Now they destroyed Star Trek with this. It's like part of it is just taking away the things that you remember from your childhood that gave you joy, that brought you back to this place, taking those and then bastardizing them, making them, doing the Netflix to them. You know what I mean? Like putting black Swedes, shit like that.
It's like they want you to be red pilled.
Really, honestly, you're black Swedish people. Are you fucking kidding me? Just when you see that, you just go, you hate me. You hate your customer, right? And so there's only so much of that you can, I know you always like to end on positive notes. I do have positive notes. I don't want to sound like I'm totally depressed. I'll save my positive notes for the.
Well, I guess one positive thing about it is if they're resorting to the fact of they're trying to ruin these old shows to try to make it so you feel like you're black-pilled all the time, clearly they're losing the battle because there was just certain things that it was just so blatantly obvious in front of you. But if those clearly weren't working and they're trying to take over Star Trek and that's getting destroyed, like they're clearly losing the battle. So, I mean, we may be talking about like it's infinitely black-pilled, but no, they're losing at this point. And I mean, maybe the black-pilled mentality isn't necessarily so bad because, we've always looked at it in the community like it's like the end-all be-all, like everything's all done. But, if you have that mentality, I feel like a lot of the time that's when people actually fight is when their back's up against the wall. So, maybe it's a good thing to a certain extent.
Listen, it depends on how you're wired, how you perceive this black pilling. Is this something that frees you up to action? Like, hey, I got nothing to lose. Let's go. Well, that might be exactly what you need in life. If it puts you into a funk or a depression or steals your energy or, does that of course, I don't think is healthy. I think if you can find the balance where you're recognizing the insanity and giving it, the seriousness and respect that it deserves, but also like being able to laugh at how preposterous things are. Just like can you believe it?
That's honestly what I've gotten to the point of now is I just kind of laugh because most people can't understand that both sides can be wrong in a situation. So it's like, you're hearing this stuff about, just to bring it back up, the whole ICE thing. Most people, again, they can't just say like, yeah, both sides of the situation are kind of fucked up. Like, you got one side that's trying to, start fights essentially with federal agents. So of course, like, what do you expect is going to happen? But then on the other side, it's like, you got days and days and days of these federal agents being provoked, having stuff thrown at them. So they're quickly snapping. So it's like, yeah, both sides are wrong, but everybody's too busy arguing over that to actually admit that, yeah, both sides are kind of fucked up.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's a nice tactic to make it so that there's no middle ground. So make it so that it isn't possible for people to go, I like what Trump is doing, but I don't like the way in which he's doing it. Like you're not allowed to have that opinion. You have to be 100% on board with him. Like, I like it, and I like boots. I like to lick boots, like Tim Pool's like, it's my boot and everything. It's like, why don't you say, I want him to deport all of these dirty illegals out of here, but I don't like the optics of how he's doing it because it looks shitty and it looks weird. The mass, it's just it's not a good look for America. But there's no nuance. There's no allowance for that within that tribe. They're not, it's just, you have to kind of, and the left is just like this too, with their own line of thinking. They're maybe even worse, but
the left part's hard because especially in Minnesota, it's like all the daycare stuff. Like part of what you're standing up for is people stealing millions of dollars for these fake daycares. And it's like, the opinions are so contradictory on both sides that it's just hard to, it doesn't make sense either way. Like, yeah, it's messed up that people are getting ripped away from their families, but you're totally okay with them stealing millions from the state. Like you can get everybody on either side caught in these contradictions that make no sense.
I'd be more than willing to listen to their point of view if it started with the leftists saying, I believe that these people deserve human rights, but I disagree with them running fraudulent activities against the country. If they said that, I'd be like, that's a reasonable position, right? But they don't say that. They pretend that there is no fraud or that you're racist for pointing it out or whatever. And you just go, so dishonest. There is no conversation. You're unwilling to look at the facts. You have feelings. Who needs facts when you have feelings? You feel that these people should be treated, you should wave a magic wand and everybody is treated equally and everybody gets a house and everybody is able to, you feel like everybody should get everything that they want. The facts are you're importing people who don't speak the language, have zero marketable skills at a time when AI and automation and things like that are already starting to cause problems, right?
Everybody's already broke and the money's got to come from somewhere. And people don't realize like, hey, we're all broke, but where's the money coming from for these people to live here?
So it's like, it's just magical thinking and multiplied by the government, which is already magical thinking. So it's magical thinking squared, I suppose.
Talk about magical thinking. I'm struggling, but government help me out by giving me more handouts. But where does the money come from? Taxpayer dollars. Like
we okay. It just magically, it grows on trees. I mean, it's tough though, because if you can't get them to like understand basic economics or logic, it's like you're arguing with people that are deeply unserious and you just go, I don't even know why I bother.
You want to have more money altogether? The best way to do that is to have the least amount of government help, because the more the government helps, the more money they need to, quote, do this help. So the more programs you have that exist to help people that are poor, the more poor the rest of the citizens are. Like basic math and logic and economics that most people just don't understand, which ironically, most of the people that are spatting these socialism ideas are people that go to college that are supposed to understand economics. Weird how that works.
Yeah, economics is not their strong suit. It deals with numbers, and I've been told that math is racist. So
liberal economics, right? That's a new class you're going to see in the next couple of years. I'm surprised if it isn't already one.
Yeah, it's taught with Common Core math.
It comes as a complete kit. Take your choice.
Yeah, you have to. Oh, fucking hell.
Wouldn't that be messed up though? Just a weird concept to think about, man. The school's being divided at a certain point.
You have to drive to work every day across a bridge that's built with Common Core math.
Which civilization do you want to split and live in? Do you want to live in the Common Core math system? Do you want to live in the liberal system, or do you want to live in the Republican system?
Right.
Take your pick.
Yeah. Just be metric and our stupid system, stupid American system likes to make everything difficult. Now we have a third system, Common Core system, where it's like math is whatever, architecture is.
It'll work, maybe.
Yeah.
It'll look like all the buildings from Idiocracy, where they're all just kind of falling apart and barely held together. Like everybody talks about a civil war, right? Everybody wants to joke about this, but like that's what would happen with the Civil War. It would be divided between those two groups.
It would look like Chaz Chop in Seattle. It would just be the autonomous zone where it's like sheds and like makeshift borders and chain link fences that are kind of put together, and there's that poor bastard who's trying to grow a tomato plants on a pizza box with potting soil, and the whole thing. He was making a video of it, while a guy behind him is having a mental breakdown. I mean, the whole thing was just crazy.
Then the other side of the wall, you got guys that don't even need to have defenses or weapons because all they have to do is throw insults over the wall, and the other side just runs away crying. Like, super easy defense.
Dude, we are living through it.
Hold on tight, guys. This is our last break, so stay tuned. And we are back to the show. Let's hop right in. Well, I guess with that, man, that might be a good spot to end with some possible words of wisdom. So if there's any words of wisdom you want to bestow on the listeners today, man, what might it be?
You have to have a sense of humor about this thing. I mean, it is important to understand what's going on, have a sense of humor, but also have a plan, and don't be fearful, because once you start preparing for what you think may be coming, just the sheer act of doing that puts you in a totally different mindset. So get yourself some storable food, get your money out of the bank as much as you can. If you're fortunate enough to have excess cash, kind of get that, because they signed bank bail-in legislation. They're going to take the money out of the bank accounts at some point. They legalized doing it, so they're going to do it. So be proactive. Like, how crazy is it that I'm going to say that in this normal time right now, the normal time, it's going to look like a normal time at some point. Take advantage of it. Like do what you need to do now. Like get yourself squared away. Get the things that you need. Do the things you should do in advance. Get yourself some storable food. Get yourself some gold and silver. Get yourself some whatever. If you're a gun guy, get yourself some bullets. Start thinking, like, what would I do if the Federal Reserve notes in my bank account were worth a whole lot less next year? You'd want to turn it into something else that was going to be worth at least what it was worth when you bought it, hopefully a little bit more. So if you can understand that this is the direction that we're going, and that the financial future is very murky right now, and that you might want to have some assets that aren't stocks or bonds or something like this that's tied to this financial. So you want to have something that's as outside of the system as you can get. Something like gold and silver doesn't have counterparty risk. As soon as you start doing those things and start collecting the things that you think you need, it just changes your mindset. And you go from being fearful to now all of a sudden you are being proactive. And it's not that you're wishing this to come, because you're never obviously wishing for it to come. But you know that if something comes and disrupts the world, you'll have a little bit of a buffer, and you'll be a little bit more insulated against it. It'll buy you a little bit of time, might buy you a little bit of comfort and security and safety, might keep you alive for a while, might keep you from, feeling hopeless because you had got your money out of the bank because you knew what the fuck was coming up, and you weren't going to sit around and watch them steal all your money. So you started getting it out like ATMs and buying gold, silver coins and shit like that. And then when it came, you weren't happy about it, right? But you were like, like you were quietly like, all right, well, I'm less screwed up than everybody else. So like that, I think that there's ways in which you can change the vibe, and you can make it so that you're not feeling like a victim. Instead, you're feeling very proactive. And you know what? If the catastrophe never comes, hopefully it never comes, right? Something bad like that. You're still ready. You're prepared. You're planning. And that is just such a good vibration to have, you know what I mean? Not to get too woo-woo, but like to be in that prepared mindset is like way better for your mental health than somebody that just 9 to 5 every day at the job, never even considered it, woke up one day, power went out, lights went out, bank accounts went down. Dude's got 3 days of food in the pantry and he's dead. You know what I mean? Like that guy, you don't want to be the last guy to figure it out. You don't want to be looking for a chair when the music stops. So take advantage of the time. In doing so, you know, take advantage and protect the people and talk to those close to you who will listen to you. Like, hey, I'm not trying to freak you out or anything, but like, are you ready in case something were to happen?
I mean, as an extension of that, of course, too, make sure you try to learn as many practical skills as you possibly can, too, because you never know when you might need to do anything. I mean, from fishing to hunting to skinning an animal to literally anything and everything in between. Farming, knowing how to, produce your own fertilizer. Any and every single practical skill you could possibly learn or have the opportunity to learn, make sure you get them because, again, you'll be a lot more prepared. Even if you, if the shit hits the fan, you at least know how to go out and try to fend for yourself as much as possible. So, in the end too, if everything ends up collapsing too, being able to have practical skills might end up actually having some value with trade and barter too. So, but
absolutely, yeah, they can't take those from you.
Exactly. So, man, if anybody wanted to come and find all of your work, all of the fascinating things that you're always keeping up on and doing across the internet, where can everybody find all of your stuff?
Macroaggressions.io is the website. You can find most of the things that I'm working on over there. Activistpost.com is the new site I took control of on January 1st, 2025. So make sure to go to activistpost.com, bookmark it, get it on your mobile phone. Didn't build an app for it. Just have to pull it up on your browser. But we've got a great email newsletter too. Sign up for that. You'll get good stuff there. That's it. Thanks for having me. It's always good to see you. We'll do it again soon.
Say what we is every 3 to 6 months, of course. We'll have to do another one, catch back up on everything, man. And I always appreciate you making the time to come on. It's always a fascinating conversation with you, and I always love all the different directions you go into, man. So, as usual, man, thanks again, Charlie.
Thanks, man.
Big thank you to everyone out there for catching this week's episodes. Just a reminder, this show wouldn't be possible without listeners like you. Podcasts are a labor of love, and I want to be able to keep this show going for as long as possible. If you might be interested in supporting the show and all of the hard work behind it, some of the best ways that you guys can do that is by leaving a review or rating for the show anywhere that you guys happen to listen to the show. And once I find it, I will read on the show and give you guys a big shout out. You guys can also share the show through word of mouth with anybody that you think might happen to enjoy the show. Because honestly, podcasts, the only way that these things grow is through grassroots from listeners like you guys, because a lot of the time you don't really listen to a new podcast unless you have a friend or somebody close to you that ends up suggesting it to you. So anything you guys can do, I would definitely appreciate. And if you're in a position to support the show and you find value in what I do, please consider donating to the show directly. That is definitely one of the best ways to make sure that the show will keep afloat. Any value that you guys find in the show, you guys could donate back through PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, and of course, all of those links are available down in the show description. And you guys can also go and check out the Patreon now with just one tier, full access for $2.50 a month. And if you guys are interested in checking it out, there is a 7-day free trial. And if you guys enjoy it, it'd be awesome if you guys wouldn't mind sticking around for a while. And last but not least, you guys can also go and check out the Bizarre Reality merch store with t-shirts just $15.68 plus shipping, which equals out to about $20, so about average for a t-shirt, and you guys can support the little guy in the process. And if you guys might be interested in keeping up with the show, you guys could go and follow the show on Instagram and Facebook, and you guys could also catch live shows and video content on the Bizarre Reality Media, YouTube, TikTok, and Rumble channels. And if you guys might need another podcast to get you through your work week, please consider going and checking out my other show, Bizarre Encounters with Shayn Orin, diving into a lot of the same topics we talk about on this show, but in a different format because it's usually our research and not so much the interview style. But we do have some of those mixed in, of course, in the process. And if you guys miss any of that, every single thing that I mentioned is available in the link tree, which is available down in the show description. And with that, hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. Hope today's show has connected some dots in your own reality. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Have a good night, everybody.
Reality isn't what it seems. I'm Dr. D's taking aboard a craft with a tractor beam. Is life a simulation or an astral dream? Aliens travel through black holes, different galaxies. Life is a bizarre odyssey, with a mic talking about philosophy. Well, Bigfoot is stalking campers as a Wendigo walks through the woods of sharpened antlers, using a Ouija board to talk to the dead like a necromancer. There's so many questions and not enough answers, so if you're interested in mysteries and abnormalities, tune in and listen to Inquiries of Our Reality.